So next up in our series on JavaScript interview questions, we're going to be talking about numbers and their properties. So with this code right here, 3 variables, n1, n2, n3, setting properties on them, and then logging those out, what are going to be the values of these 3 console log statements? A copy of the starter code, you'll find the link to it down in the description, and I'll give you a minute to look this over and come up with what you think is the answer, and then we'll be back to talk about the solution. Okay, welcome back. So our 3 variables here, all 3 of them are numbers. 111, 123, 123. So they are all numbers, clearly, but there is a difference. N1 is a primitive. N3 is a primitive. We're just taking the primitive 1, 2, 3 and casting it as another number. So it's converting it from a number to a number. It's not doing anything else to it. These 2 are both primitives. Now, in JavaScript, for every primitive, there is also sort of a behind-the-scenes object. And that's what we're doing here. We are actually creating an object. With new number, whenever you use the new operator, the constructor, you are creating an object. That means n2 is an object that has the primitive 1, 2, 3 inside of it. Now, moving on to the second section here, setting props. That's going to work just great here, but for the other 2, you can't set a property on a primitive. A primitive is just that, it's a primitive. So you've got a string or a number. If it's just a string of characters, you can't give it properties. If it's a number, you can't give it properties. If it's a Boolean, you cannot give it properties. If it's an object that contains a primitive, then you can give it a property. So when we look at these, when we run this, what we're going to find is that this one is going to come out as undefined. This one is actually going to work. It's going to come back and say, you know what, this property that exists here is true. And then again, we've just casted a number as a number. We've still got just the primitive. And so when we run this, undefined, true, and undefined. And that's it. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to leave those in the comments down below. I will leave a link to the rest of the interview playlist down in the description too. And as always, thanks for watching.